In this video, I want to add some validation to our forms. Right now, the form has only two fields, so it's not very interesting in terms of validation. I'm going to add a couple more fields now. So let's start with the sign up page. I'm going to add an email field and a password verification field. Okay, and the way that I want to add validation is to install a library called Express Validator. So I'm going to go ahead and require that in the server.js file. And if you go to the documentation page, you can see how to start using this. So the Express Validator is a middleware. I'm going to go ahead and use the Express Validator middleware. It says this line has to come after the body parser. So add that here. For the options, I'm just going to leave the options blank for now. Okay. And I'm going to start adding the validators into the /user create route. So the way this works is there's a request.checkBody method, and this method takes the name of an input field. So we've got username, and then the second argument is the error message. Okay, and then you can call a validator method on this. So one of them is not empty, and that will check if the username input is empty or not. So this library comes with a set of built-in validators. It actually comes from another library called Node Validator, which Express Validator is built on top of. If you scroll down in the Node Validator documentation, you can see a list of all the validators that it has. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add this for the email and password fields. Okay. And then once you've run the validators, you can create an errors object. Let's see. with this method here. You can call request.validate errors, request.validation errors, and that's going to return an array of error objects. And you can see, if you scroll down a little bit, so here's an example of what that array looks like. Right, so here's an array, and each of these objects is an error object. And the param matches the name of the input field. So in this case it would be username, this case would be email, this case it would be password. And then the message corresponds to the error message that you gave as the second argument here, and here, and here. And then the value is the input, the value that you received. And then if you didn't get any errors, then request.validation errors will return null. So what we can do now is check if there were any errors. Since if there were no errors, this errors variable is going to be null. Then let's see. So if there are no errors, we want to go ahead and do what we already have here. And then if there were errors, what I want to do is re-render the sign-in page, sign-up page. And I want to pass in the errors. Okay. So now our sign-up page is going to get the errors variable. So what I want to do is here, if there was an error, or if there are multiple errors, I want to re-render the sign-up page, and then I want to show the user which errors they caused from incorrectly filling out the form. I'm going to sign up here. So I want to say if errors So one thing I want to talk about very quickly here is that you can see that this sign-up page is rendered in two spots. You can go to the /signup page, or you can get redirect, or you can fill out the sign-up form incorrectly, and then get basically it's going to re-render the sign-up page here. So in this case, we do get the errors object passed into the template, but in this case, we don't. Oops. So as it is now, if I try to use the errors variable here, I'm going to get an error when I try to render it from this route, because it's going to say that the name errors doesn't exist. So one trick around that is to say locals.errors. And locals it's basically an object that gets passed to EJS templates that contains all the variables that were passed into it. So let's see. Locals, you can think of it as basically this object. In this case here, locals is basically an empty object. So instead of throwing an error, this will evaluate to undefined, and then it'll basically work even though we haven't passed an errors object here as the second object argument. Okay, so I want to say if there are any errors, I want to create a unordered list, and then just, I want to iterate over the errors. And I want to create a list item tag for each error, and inside I'm going to just go ahead and put the error message. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if that worked. What I expect to happen is when I hit sign up, it's going to show me a list of errors. Okay, so it looks like I gave the wrong path for the view sign up. So it looks like here I shouldn't have put this slash there because it's not a path, it's just the name of the template view. So let's see. Let me restart the server and try again. Okay. So this time you can see that this worked. So let me just very quickly go over exactly what happened here. So here's the form. When I submitted the form, it went to the action/user/create. Here in the route/user/create, we checked the username, email, and password input values. Each one was empty, so when we called request.validationErrors, it created an errors object. Created an errors array. Inside of that array, there was one error object for each validation that failed, and each of those error objects has a property called message, which contains this error message here. And then, since there were errors, instead of creating the new user, we render the sign up page again, passing the errors into the template. And then here, we just iterate over the errors and put the error messages onto the page. And you can see that here. So I think that's it for the basic validation stuff. In the next video, I'll go over some more advanced validation stuff.